A sealed graded copy of Super Mario Bros. For the NES has recently sold for over $114,000, and I want to talk about my thoughts on this and the game grading market in general. And Nintendo has unveiled a new NES system that's made of Lego and features our favorite plumber, and I realized something. Nintendo has more Lego sets this year than new Switch games thus far in the year of 2020. Yes sir, an all retro related Mario video, kind of fitting since it's the 37th anniversary of the original Japanese arcade release of Mario Bros. What's going on guys, I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, but without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. Well, at least Mario related stuff. So whenever mainstream media starts to cover a video game sale, you know that things are going to get very rocky because there's a lot of implications that end up happening from that because everyone essentially thinks they have gold in their attic now. And recently, a WATA Graded Super Mario Bros. For the NES sold for an astronomically high price. Now this was a WATA Graded 9.4 on their 1 to 10 scale, meaning that this is pretty much a sort of perfect copy of the game. And of course, the game in question was Super Mario Bros. On the NES. Now we've seen a lot of sealed copies of Super Mario Bros. On the NES sell for very high prices, but nothing really in this sort of range. So a lot of people were wondering, well, why was this copy of the game so highly sought after and why did it command so much money? Well, there's a couple reasons for it when it comes down to the pricing of the game. Now this appears to be a somewhat later release of the individual cartridge. This isn't a Mario Duck Hunt cartridge or anything like that. It is a standard Super Mario Bros. Cartridge, and it did not feature the small Nintendo sticker on the box of this, meaning that it probably released after 1986, which is when a vast majority of the Super Mario Bros. Cartridges were released between 1985 and 1986, making it somewhat of a rarity when it comes to sealed Super Mario Bros. Games. Also, the game, while sealed, did contain the original hang tag that it would have used to hang on a store shelf, because that's how you displayed games back in the day. You had the case behind you, and you had all of the games in the case, and of course hanging on these hang tags. And like I said, this ended up selling for over $114,000 on a Heritage auction. Now, Heritage auction should sound sort of familiar for you guys. They, of course, had the Nintendo PlayStation that Terry Diebold had that ended up selling on the Heritage auction as well. So they pretty much are becoming the place to get these rare and vintage games that are sealed or sort of, you know, anomalies like the Nintendo PlayStation. Now, when it comes to video game grading, WATA is a bit newer in the video game grading atmosphere than something like VGA is, who of course has been the standard for many years now, but some people seem to be using WATA instead of video game grading. I'm not quite sure why they're going and making the shift away from them, but WATA seems to be the company that everyone is talking about. But WATA is not without its flaws. Like I said, they are sort of newer to the video game grading scene, and there was actually an interesting article that went up on SNES Central a few months ago where essentially WATA Games had basically given grades to different Super Nintendo prototype cartridges that ended up being fake. Now they did reach out to NES Central to say that they were going to do a better job when it came to grading their games and doing their due diligence, but that's kind of a big stain on their reputation, I feel, because of the fact that, well, these were obviously fake prototypes according to SNES Central, yet they ended up getting graded by WATA. Now, as far as video game grading is concerned as a whole, I just don't like it at all because it's really something, it's very strange when you actually think about it. You take a game, you take a sealed game or something like that, you send it off to a company, they sort of give it a grade based on their specifications on how good the seals are and things like that, and then they send it back to you in like this nice plastic case, and then it's up to you to decide what the value of this is. And really, none of this stuff has value unless an individual gives it value. If somebody wants to put up a sealed Super Mario Bros. For $1 million, if somebody is willing to pay that $1 million, well, then it has a $1 million value. It's all sort of based on supply and demand. And really what this ends up doing is you have Uncle Cletus, who has a copy of Super Mario Bros. On the NES, who sees this article on USA Today and is like, well, now my game is worth that much too, I'm gonna sell this. And it just makes the whole secondary market absolutely atrocious because everyone thinks everything they have is now worth all this money because of an individual and isolated case of a sealed game. Really, games are meant to be played, I feel. Now, yes, I do own some sealed games, but I usually have another means to play those games games as far as maybe a digital copy or even a secondary copy when it comes to video games. So I just am not a fan of video game grading. It artificially inflates a lot of sealed game prices, and it's just kind of weird to me because you could buy the sealed game off of eBay or something like that that's not graded for a fraction of the price. So if you really wanted a sealed copy of the game, you could get that sealed copy of the game. But with all that said, I do want to announce something: the RGT grading scale. And our first game on the scale is going to be Super Mario Brothers. Now, this copy of Super Mario Brothers is in pristine condition. On the RGT scale, we're giving it an 11 out of 10. Now, yes, it does say $1 in marker on it, but that's vintage. That makes it a sort of cool aesthetic of a time where you could buy NES games for simply $1. Now, as far as the value of this cartridge is concerned, obviously, it's not going to be $114,000 like that WATA Graded cartridge is, but we're going to say it's about worth $113,000. So if you're interested in buying this RGT graded copy of Super Mario Brothers, be sure to hit me up in the DMs. $113,000, and this copy of the game can be yours. And finally, Nintendo and Lego seem to be building a budding relationship that continues to grow every day and is now continuing to grow even larger with a brand new NES set coming to us from both Lego and Nintendo. But before we talk about that, let's sort of look at the Lego and Nintendo connection thus far in 2020 because it's been pretty strong. Of course, we were introduced to the Super Mario Brothers Lego set earlier this year, and you get this sort of weird little Mario guy. He has like eyes and stuff. He makes noise, and of course you get different sorts of sections where you can create your own little Mario style levels, and you can put Mario on a certain part of the level and it'll make some noise. Of course, there is the Mario starter kit along with the Piranha Plant Power Slide expansion pack to make your Mario and Lego experience even bigger. But now Nintendo is getting into the game console division of Lego with a brand new Lego NES set. Now, as you can see, this set includes a Lego NES and a controller that of course you will have to build, a Lego TV with Super Mario Brothers sort of playing on it to give you that sort of immersion factor, and even a Lego Super Mario Brothers cartridge that you can blow in if you want to blow in it for some reason. Now, this compilation has over 2,600 pieces, meaning that there is no chance in hell I will ever be able to make this because I'm a Lincoln Logs man. You know, I like simplicity. I've never built a Lego set before, and I don't see myself being able to build this Lego set because I'm just not a patient individual. Now, of course, your Super Mario Lego character that you get in the other Mario Lego sets will interact with this stage. It plays music and it's got all the eyes and stuff like that. It's really cool stuff, honestly, if you're into Lego. And as a vintage and retro game fan, I do think this looks really sort of neat. Now, as far as the pricing is concerned for this Lego NES set, it's very expensive, like $230 expensive. Now, obviously, you're getting a lot of stuff with it. You're getting a lot of moving parts with it as well, but that's a lot of money. Like, you could buy an actual NES and like a CRT TV and a copy of Super Mario Brothers for even less than that. Unless you're getting the RGT graded copy of Super Mario Brothers, then it'll cost you a little bit more. But still, I think it's a cool thing. But I sat here and thought about this. There's really been 3 Lego sets announced as far as Nintendo is concerned in 2020. Like I said, you had the Mario Starter Course set, you had the Piranha Plant Power Slide expansion set, and now you have this Lego NES set. So if you're good at basic math, you would know that that is 3 different Lego Nintendo related things that we are getting in 2020. Of course, you have the Mario Starter Course, which is number 1, the Piranha Plant Power Slide expansion pack, which is number 2, and now this Lego NES set, which is number 3. And I sat here and thought to myself, you know what? Nintendo has announced more Lego sets in 2020 than they have new Nintendo Switch games, because when you look at what Nintendo has announced in 2020 so far, they've announced 2 games. They announced Clubhouse Games, which came out in June, fantastic game, a lot of fun, and of course they announced Paper Mario The Origami King, which is coming out later this week, depending on when you're watching this video. And that's only 2 games. That's 2 games, but 3 Lego sets. Like, what is Nintendo doing in 2020? This is absolutely ridiculous at this point in time. Now, you could say that, yes, the Pokemon stuff that was announced for the Nintendo Switch was sort of a Nintendo announcement, but I don't really count that because that is coming to us from the Pokemon Company, which at the end of the day, while Nintendo does own a stake in them, they could do whatever they want, and that's why they do a lot of cell phone stuff. When it comes to actual games developed in-house by Nintendo, we have only learned about 2 games in 2020. One One of those games is already out, and one of those games is coming out very soon. Now, of course, this is going to change at any point in time. There are heavy rumors of a July Nintendo Direct, but I just thought it was absolutely bizarre that we are more than halfway through 2020, and Nintendo has only announced 2 games for the Nintendo Switch, yet has announced 3 sets of Legos that you can get that are involved with the NES universe and the Nintendo universe. So, I don't know. I probably won't pick up this Lego kit because, like I said, I'm not good at building stuff like this, but I guess it's sort of cool for nostalgia. It might be milking it a bit too much, especially at that $230 price point, but let me know in the comments section down below if you plan on picking this up. Alright, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. And like I said, if you want to get the official RGT graded Super Mario Bros. Cartridge, only $113,000, less than that WATA price release game. And this is a better grading system anyways because it's the RGT grading system. 11 out of 10. Be sure to hit up my DMs, have your PayPal ready. And as always, folks, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.